Why London Daygame should be buried like Tom Terrero, metaphorically and figuratively speaking, of course. I mean, anyways, let's continue. I'm going to read from this. I want to talk about London Daygame and why it's a really inferior system. London Daygame Death Trap. Why London Daygame isn't working for short Asians and Indian ethnics. That's right. Are you tired of playing the numbers game with London Daygame, but can't seem to get laid with it? Stop getting auto rejected with direct game and learn why getting laid with a white girl, getting a fuck buddy with a white girl, or getting a white girlfriend requires more than just playing a numbers game. That's right. The tall whites in London does not understand anything that does not involve round 500 approaches. My students who are short ethnics got laid with models and white girls, even when they have low SMV, and still bang white girls above their looks level. Even my white student that was there got laid with 10 fuck buddies, literally one shot, one kill nonstop after he learned his social skills and social calibrations. Even if it took him a while to really get down the social skill flow drill for 2 weeks, I've been yelling at him and he got laid right away. I mean, this is not a joke. He got 10 fuck buddies, a fivesome, 2 models, and 1 model girlfriend. In fact, you can hear him from 10-second mark in my webinar thing.
Now for a taste of the wrong path to sociopath, Mac Lake.
Okay, if I can't get the exact timing, then I'll skip it.
Now for a taste of things to come.
2 weeks in, I had a same day late. And yeah, I got a model Instagram girlfriend.
Got me same day late.
This guy.
With a Brazilian woman in a fivesome
So a Brazilian women, fivesome.
Daygame. And then she got me a 9 out of 10 Latina fuck buddy and turned her into my girlfriend. This was after I got 10 fuck buddies. This fuck buddy's sister accidentally fucked her.
The fifth thing I want to teach you.
Yeah, that's right. 10 fuck buddies. And you're probably thinking to yourself, what the fuck? How does a guy get 10 fuck buddies? The guy was suicidal and he was about to end his life using London Daygame and also RSD Todd stuff. So you might say, well, Todd's not RSD, but whatever. Okay, I'm not in the best mood, but I'm just going to get through this. So I'll show you how to get laid super fast in a matter of 2 weeks with my training without having to sound gamey and turning women off with Asperger's syndrome. I mean, James Tuss only has 1 Daygame lay testimonials of some guy who got married in Poland. That's it. It doesn't matter how many subscribers he has. As people said, oh, you got less subscribers, John. James Tuss has more than you. But James Tuss has 1 Daygame lay testimonial, lots of subscribers. I have less subscribers, more student lay testimonials, 577 to be exact. So how exactly does it matter if he had more subscribers? It doesn't matter. Even though there's nobody here. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm not seeing anybody here on the subscriber screen, but I see you typing here. Or regardless, let's continue. So, as I'm saying about James Tusk, I actually have this screenshot of the student that got laid. So this is not bullshit, by the way. Look over here. That's James Tusk's student over here. Here's the screenshots. And only 1 guy got laid. Just 1 guy. He got married. But if that's the only lay testimonial, then what does that say about London Daygame? Considering my student that had 10 fuck buddies, fivesome, 2 models and 1 model girlfriend, he was about to commit suicide. With London Daygame shit. That was his last month. I got him laid and then he's alive. London Daygame kills people. All right, let's continue. So basically what I'm saying is if you're an Asian or Indian guy trying to master Daygame, but you're not having much success with the direct game, have you ever wondered why London Daygame direct game is ineffective for lower SMV daygamers like you? Well, you're not alone. In fact, thousands of guys just like you are struggling to get results they want from London Daygame, and for good reason. Hopefully I'm not talking too fucking loud because this whole thing pisses me off. London Daygame is so inferior, it should be illegal to teach this system to anybody that's not a tall white guy who is an ethnic. But I digress. I'm going to keep speaking even if nobody is here. I don't give a fuck. So, the London Daygame system is just too rigid for everyone. So let's take a look at why London Daygame isn't cutting it for low SMV daygamers. So first of all, the direct opener is like a haymaker. Let me get the gloves over here so I can explain this a lot better. So I brought 2 UFC gloves. Used to be a fighter. I trained in many different systems before. Let's just put this on so we can use this to demonstrate why London Daygame is inferior. Okay? So UFC, yes. I used to take mixed martial arts, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Krav Maga. Those 3 systems. So, all right. So the very first thing they do is they give a compliment. So that's like a big haymaker. Excuse me real quick. I have a question. I was going over there and I saw you and you look kind of nice and I want to come by and say hi. That's a haymaker. Because they gave a compliment, it staggers her a little bit. So she feels like, tee, but she might be giving you false reactions or positive reactions, IOIs, but not indicators of compliance, IOC, which I invented. And somebody showed it to Mystery, IOCs, and the Mystery said nothing, which is great because he knows that's true. Autistic people, they need to do all these compliance tests. They need to do all this direct mass approaching because they have no social calibration. So the first thing with that direct opener is staggering her with a big haymaker. And of course, a lot of times you miss, so you call it a numbers game. My students do not do that. They use the hybrid opener. So, having said that, let's continue. So the haymaker is like a Tinder street game. She either swipes left and walks away, or she swipes right. That's right. But if your looks level is lower than hers, right? You're like a little fucking boxer, right? You're like a little Asian guy, a little ethnic Indian. And then you're gonna try to give a direct compliment saying, hey, excuse me, I was like going over there and I saw you and you look kind of nice, kind of posh. What's she gonna fucking do? Knock you the fuck out. Boom. And then you're like, oh shit, it's a numbers game. It's a statistical numbers game. Dude, it's not a numbers game. My students do not go direct. I have 577 LAPO testimonials. What does that tell you? There are even dumb fucks out there that believe that opener doesn't matter. But their students, I mean, what kind of results are their students getting? Nowhere near my students. So anyone that says that is just really SMVing it. Of course it matters. How does my students get laid in 1 to 6 approaches if it doesn't matter? How? It's impossible. When they leveled up in front of the mirror in practice. But let's continue with this boxing metaphor. There's only one person here. That's really great. So basically, you're getting someone getting someone above your looks level with this Tinder street game is impossible using London Daygame's openers. And also, if you have low SMV, like a short Asian, Indian, and you're sucking the white man's banana, like stupid fools. It's always these Indians and Asian engineers that just love to suck off London Daygame. They just can't help it. They just got to suck on that banana because they're like, oh, but this system's technical and they're engineers, so therefore they believe this is a good system. No, it's bad. So let's continue. You will not get laid with their direct game unless you're a tall white guy who gets a 5 out of 10 once in a while. That's right. If you're like 6'2" or something, you might get something below your looks level. So there was a guy with 3 fuck buddies, a Vietnamese guy. And I posted about him over here. And he was going through London Daygame. It did not work. He had 1 white girl who was a model and an Asian model. He had 3 fuck buddies and 2 of them were models. He retained 2 of them. But he lost 1 of them. And he retained them for an entire year. He had no results whatsoever except endless flakes going direct. a little ethnic Vietnamese guy. Look how small he is. He's like a 5'5" little Vietnamese guy. This is what happens when you go direct. He tried to dye his hair kind of like blonde. And I'm telling you, it doesn't work. Let's hear what he has to say quickly. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. Let's continue. Okay. Come on. I can't really press like forward that easily because the gloves are kind of small or big. Okay, fuck. And once again, we have problems with this thing. For no reason at all, this thing decided not to play. Just when I need...
London.
Oh, here it is.
Coaching and Skype program. Something about me. I'm a Vietnamese guy. 5'5", super skinny. Studying in university in London.
Hopefully you can hear it.
I decided to buy this program because before I was just going out all the time, being really direct with girls and never working out. They would just flake or...
Oh, going direct and they will flake in London for this little 5'5" ethnic Asian. Not surprised.
Just brush me off.
Okay, brushing.
But with John's program, I was able to open, transition, and like show myself, express myself. So to get the girl attracted to me, and he taught me everything from approaching to what to do with a number, what to do on dates, and how to pull the girl back to my place and escalate from there. As an Asian guy living in a European country that the first language of everyone is English, at first I found it really difficult to get attraction from women. But after taking this program, I feel like anything's possible, and I just feel unstoppable at the moment. I'm dating 2 models, one Asian, one white girl, and just dating any races I want without any barriers. I'm just really happy. On top of that, I want to clarify that by following John's teaching, in the span of 1 week, I have been able to pull 2 girls home and slept with them. One is an Asian model, and the other one's a really hot white girl.
Okay, so basically, if this little ethnic guy can bang, an Asian model and a white girl, I know in London, a lot of the women are very, very unattractive. So it's very rare that you can get anybody like that easily. But however, sometimes for the other student with 10 fuck buddies, not all of them were born in London, because I'm not saying that the women are... Actually, I am. They're very unattractive. Very, very unattractive. So, okay. So it doesn't seem like a lot of people on here. So my other 3MP student, who's 5'7" and Chinese, I think you guys saw who he is. He got a fuck buddy with... Yeah, this guy. He got a fuck buddy with a white girl for 3 months to proficiency. But however, before he started, he was actually a London Daygame. Like, that's why he studied London Daygame, and it doesn't work. This guy, this Chinese guy. So he went through Kaizen through 3 months to proficiency. So it doesn't even matter about the stats. There's no proof. That's the problem. Hey, here's what I'm thinking. If you guys are on here, just type something. I see 0 people on here. But yeah, they always post their stats and no proof. Just like London dating coaches or white dating coaches. We have never seen a white dating coach ever same day lay or anything except pull to a cab. So I can't see who's on here. I see 0. There might even be 3 or 4 people here. But let's continue. Okay. So you're right about that. So that other student got laid in 2 weeks without learning any sort of game yet, because in 2 weeks during Kaizen, he only worked on his body language and his social skills. He actually didn't have the time to learn anything else about game. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, what the fuck? If he's learning about that, it's not about game. And even if I see like nobody's here, I'm still gonna keep preaching. Maybe a bunch of people will show up later on. It's fine. There'll be tons of people showing up later on. I'm just gonna keep talking and talking until I get my point across. I can always cut this video and recut it so that way it makes more sense. Okay. So I'll keep this one a little bit further away so I can still do some punches and shit like that later on when I have to. So another 5'6" Asian. He's 1 inch taller than the last guy. And he banged at 8.5 out of 10 Swedish blonde in London. I trained him in my 3 months of proficiency program. This one did not happen as fast. It took 2.5 months, but it's still an epic because he still banged a really hot. Yeah, I see 0 people there. I don't think they're. I mean, maybe they're just exaggerating the stats. It doesn't matter about their stats. My students are getting laid in 1 to 6 approaches. So fuck the London Daygame. So here's the other student right here. I cover his face over here a lot, but actually he's over here because I was in London before. I took this picture. That's him. He's only 5'6", very short guy. So it doesn't matter. My London student got like 10 fuck buddies, 5 some, 2 models, and they're all like 1 shot, 1 kill after he was trained. So their stats don't mean shit. My students are banging some of the hottest women you've ever seen in your fucking life in London. That's right. I mean, we could post some of his lay pics, but I'm not sure if it's suitable for. Okay, let me fast forward a little bit. Let's take a look at this guy's stuff.
She couldn't get into one of the.
Let's get this closer.
Just standing out there and we're chilling, talking. I was just bugging her, joking around about it, and being social. And boom, she's just like, "Make out with me right now." She's like, "Fucking grab me." And yeah, I got a model Instagram girlfriend, and same thing, just social skills, treating them normal, good vibe, intelligence, and all this kind of stuff. And what happens when you learn this stuff?
So you got a model girlfriend.
30 social skills.
It's literally the best Daygame coach in the world, man. I was following the London Daygame model, and that just didn't work. Then I followed Todd Valentine, and his stuff just didn't work. I purchased Elite 30. It also got me a same-day lay with a Brazilian woman, and just an update. Before, I've got 3 fuck buddies and a blowjob. Well, lately, I've just got the full fuck buddy, and it's an Argentinian woman, and she doesn't live that far from me. And he's literally the best Daygame coach in the world. I'm not joking. My 4th fuck buddy is literally got my 5th fuck buddy. And of course, people will say, "Well, I'm white, I'm tall." Well, no, I have autism, and of course, I'm going to Skype with him again to get that 6th fuck buddy, and I've already got 5. Hi, Daygame. It has literally got me 4 hot Chinese women in a 5-some from Daygame, and it's literally got me a 9 out of 10 Latina from Daygame, and I fucked all of them. And the recent ones I'm going to convert to fuck buddies, which will potentially be 10 fuck buddies, which I've scheduled them all in this week, so I'm going to convert them anyway. And the 9 out of 10 one, she works as a model. Anyone can do online game, anyone can do night game. Not many people can be successful from Daygame. I'm gaming in London, the city. I'm not gaming in no third world country.
Let me go back.
All you have to be is white. Coach in the world. Because he has literally got me my 9.5 out of 10 fuck buddy and turned her into my girlfriend. This was after I got 10 fuck buddies. I even accidentally fucked this fuck buddy's sister because she looks just like her. They're both blondes.
Look at that. You're probably like, whoa, what the fuck, man? Like, this guy is banging compared to London Daygame and their stupid stats. They're banging like 4s and 5 out of 10s. This guy is banging like fucking. It start with like 7, 8, 9, 10. It just keeps going up and up and up and up. It's like, what the fuck? So, like I said, stats don't mean shit. London Daygame has no proof. Everyone can talk a good game. They have not shown any proof whatsoever. I don't believe these people for 1 second. They can say whatever stats they want in whatever percentage. I don't believe them for these PUAs. I've seen them. I think they're full of shit. I think they're banging like 4 out of 10s and 5 out of 10s, mostly with London Daygame. The tall whites, I believe that short Asians and Indians did not get any results whatsoever in London. Zero whatsoever. And you may say, well, what do you mean by that? Because my old roommate, believe it or not, was 6 foot tall and really good looking. And he did not get a single lay from London, believe it or not. Like zero, nothing from London. And you might remember the Indian guy with the good jawline and stuff like that. He's 6 foot tall. He looks like a kind of like a Bollywood actor or something like that. That guy, 0 lays until he, trained with me. Then all of a sudden he got all these other lays. So you have to ask yourself, what is wrong with London Daygame? This guy, hold on a second. Let me press play. This thing barely even fucking works. Hopefully that you can see something. This guy. I need to organize these videos a lot better and taking too long to. Come on. Is it playing? Oh, it's not playing. Hold on. This guy. Yeah, he's my old roommate. Good looking guy. He learned from a lot of London coaches. He knew most of them. And he did not even get a single lay from them. So what does this mean for... It means this just works for white people and not for ethnics. That's right. The London Daygame has no solution for ethnics. An ethnic can do 5,000 approaches. He might get 0 lays or 2 lays. He can do 10,000. He might get 4. That's the best he can do. But when you're white and you're doing this stuff, you might get 4 out of 10s and 5 out of 10s once in a while. And to say, oh yeah, they have this stupid mindset where everything is a stat. It's a stat when you go direct becomes a Tinder street game. How can that Indian guy who looks like a Bollywood actor not get any fucking results in London using London Daygame? And even my other student who, didn't get any results until he trained with me at 3MP, this guy, Asian guy, and he gets a fucking 8.5 out of 10 Swedish blonde. This guy who trained with me, this Vietnamese guy, 5'5", then he finally got 3 fuck buddies, 2 were models. This guy had no results whatsoever as his ethnic from London. London is not a place, or London Daygame. And also my other student, you remember with 10 fuck buddies, the other guy, the white guy I showed earlier. You know what I'm talking about, that testimonial that everyone saw in the webinar thing. How the fuck can a guy like that be suicidal, being 6'1" or 6 foot tall, using London Daygame and Todd V shit? That's the thing. I think a lot of those PUAs are full of shit. They're really just like nothing's happening. They're just going on a date and they're just getting flakes. They just pull and nothing happens. I bet it's mostly they're going after 4s and 5s. I mean, maybe, just maybe, I used to live in London, so I know this shit. I mean, I see a lot of women there, and they're all ugly. There is no, 7 out of 10s, unless they're from a different country. But my students are getting 7, 8, 9s, 9.5. The guy had 2 model girlfriends. 2 model, 1 model girlfriend. All right, let's continue. So for my old roommate who filmed Elite 30, he also used to live in London. He didn't get laid there, and he's 6 foot tall and good looking, but somehow he got laid nonstop with my coaching and found his long-term partner with a Latina. Believe it or not, him and his girlfriend in a testimonial are actually still together today. Imagine he did not meet me. He'll be very fucking depressed. London Daygame is a death trap for minorities. There's no solutions. It should be illegal for them to teach minorities. Then you got all these Indians sucking off London Daygame. These Indians everywhere just sucking off London Daygame because it's like, oh, it's technical. They want to go direct. Everybody just wants to suck the white man's cock. The white dating coaches, the white plausibility with one Daygame lay testimonial like James Tusk. That fucker only has one Daygame lay testimonial. That's hardly anything. Like, what the fuck? And I even have the testimonial here. I actually documented all this shit. Look at it. It's right here. This guy over here is the only guy who got laid. Like, some old fuck. Look at his face, right? He says he married a beautiful woman, right? How beautiful do you think she really is? Look at him. It's ridiculous. That's the only testimonial. So it's like some of these guys are like, oh, John, you have less subscribers. But you try to explain to them, it means there is more sheeps over there. There's more sheeps because if there's more subscribers and they're all autistic, they'll never acknowledge that body language, social skills, and whitewash tonality, learning how to speak like a white guy rather than speaking like a autistic London Daygamer, kind of like that, and try and be posh, making statements all day and completely fucking up like a cunt. Seriously, it's a ridiculous system. I mean, London Daygame only helps tall whites with 4 out of 10s and 5 out of 10s. It's transferable to no ethnic minorities. The system should be not be marketed at all towards minorities. It should be illegal. They need to stop sucking off London Daygame. It's not transferable. It really is not transferable. So when you look at it, Daygame, it's like a jab is like the social skills. Let's go talk about the boxing stuff. Why I bought the MMA glove here. Okay. We're going to talk about how this all works. And when you understand this concept, it'll all be perfectly clear. So the jab, let's just get a good angle here. Okay. I'll move this a little bit here so I don't punch the microphone by mistake. So the jab, for example, boom, right? Got to keep your head down or else you get knocked the fuck out. Because if you keep your neck up, and you get hit here, you get knocked down easier. So the neck has to be down. So the jab, right? You want to use the 2 knuckles here. It's like the social skill flow drill. So for white people, the problem with their jab is because their jab sucks. They don't know the social skill flow drill. So when they're jabbing for white people, they're always making statements. You look like a flamingo. You look like this. You look like a peg-leg parrot with this and that. You look like this. You look like that. Everything. That's the conversational style of London Daygame. It's not even a proper punch. It's like a half punch like this. This is gonna fuck up your wrist, right? Or they're punching like this or something, like the wrong angle, right? They're just like Irish, kind of like. They don't even know how to fucking punch properly. Statements gets a short answer. It's like, you look like you are posh, or you look like you are into fashion. She might just say yes. Now you got a short fucking answer. Congratulations, you dumb fucks. But my social skill flow drill, jabs properly. And guess what? She's going to talk more because there's a triangular flow drill that gets her talking a lot more. For London Daygame, they don't talk because statements don't fucking work. Statements is like, oh, just the wrong punches. It's like upside down punch. It's like half-assing it. It's not going to work, but this jab is the social skill flow drill. Then what is this punch? So in boxing, we call this the right cross, okay? The right cross. Maybe I can demonstrate better when I can stand here. Okay? So basically, for jab, like this, jab. Remember, I used to be a fighter, so. Okay, right cross. The chin has to be down. Right? So a lot of jabs, but the right cross is like the teases. That's like your push pose. That's like your assumption stories. That's like your self-amusement. That's like your knowledge. All that stuff, that's part of London Daygame. So they're always doing like jabs and then right crosses nonstop. So at first when they start out, right? When they fucking start out, okay? The very first thing they do. All right, so the very first thing they do is they start with a haymaker. Excuse me, I was going over there and I noticed that you look very nice, and I want to come by and say hi. After that, so that's a big haymaker, just to stagger her. Then afterwards, they go for a right cross, which is, assumption stories. Originally, I thought you're going to yoga and you were like looking a little bit posh, but a little bit sweaty at the same time. It's like, you see this gamey shit? So it's another right punch. Oh, of course she can predict it. She can knock him out at any fucking point if his SMV is low. You think ethnic minorities can do that? Because now you got a small little boxer, a little Asian minority or little Indian, right? They're like, oh, you look posh, you look whatever, you're sweaty. It's like, you little shit, right? He's gonna get his fucking teeth knocked out because he's not a tall white. Even a tall white may have a little bit more jab power to get a 5 out of 10. But little minority fuck ain't gonna get shit doing this because he's gonna be like jabbing. Oh, I'm doing push poo now, like a British wanker. Yes, I'm like a little British person doing a little push poo now with the right cross. I use a jab first and the right cross. Oh, you look like you are, you look like you're a model, but a hand model. That's how it's like for the little shit. And when they're using right crosses, then they're using another one. Oh, it's a self-amusement. Oh, it's a knowledge. Now I'm going to talk about something related to your life. Oh, I'm going to disagree with you. Right? It's like, oh, I don't agree with you. You don't look like a model. You look more like a you work at a dishwasher. That sounds gamey as fuck, right? How the fuck are you supposed to go in an MMA fight, throw a big punch like a stupid amateur, then start throwing right crosses 4 times in a fucking row? She's just gonna move out of the fucking way and knock your fucking ass, your wanker ass, all the way down to the floor because you're absolutely mad because you're like 6s and 7s everywhere, and you're like a total wanker. You're gonna land on your bosom. It's like you're gonna land on your fanny. Do you not know how to actually day game? So excuse me, real quick, I have a question. I was going over there and I'd come by and say hi because you look like a peg leg pirate with whatever. Oh, I disagree with you. Another one. Fucking stupid. Oh, okay, I'm gonna push pull now. I like your hair, but I can see your roots are showing. Another fucking right cross. London Daygame. Oh, I'm going to relate to your world. Oh, you're from Poland. I'm from Britain. But we'll get along very well throughout history. Ha 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 ha. It's like, what the fuck are we listening to? Another assumption story. Oh, but that's why I came and talked to you, because now British is invading Poland. Oh, cheerio. When are the horses going to come around? Oh, really? Mate, stop being a wanker. It's like, what the fuck? And she rejects him. She has a boyfriend, as she says. And they're like, oh, why didn't it work? It's a numbers game. John, it's a numbers game. What's the stats? It's like 1-1, you fucking idiot, from my British student. 1 shot, 1 kill, like fucking 10 times in a row. Before he got no results. Then he got a same day late, just with a nonverbal communication. But then it took a long time. He still got a lot of flakes. Then he learned a social skill triangle, not the autistic triangle. Oh, you look like you are this. You look like you are that. You look like this. You look like that. You look like this. You look like that. You look like this. You look like... Shut the fuck up. That's how their fucking game is. You look like this. It's always you look like this. It's statement, statement, statement. Stock, 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 stock. I'm going to start speaking in the British accent whenever I get more angry. Oh, wankers. Completely mad. I've gone mad just thinking about this British bullshit. This bullshit. All right. So when you write cross, it is the T. Oh, fuck. I can't get out of this fucking accent. This assumption story is challenging and self-amusement part. The hook punch is a flirt. But that's the problem. In the uppercut is the punch. Does that make sense? So what is a hook punch? Sometimes you cannot just be making statements all the time. You got to start doing a hook. A hook punch is coming from the side. The hook punch is coming from the side. The feet turns like you're putting out a cigarette. Does that make sense? John, stop speaking like a British person. Let me demonstrate to you how a flirt looks like in terms of a punch. All right? So you want to turn over here, okay? Like this. Close. You want to keep your elbows in. Like, yeah. Yeah. Close. You have to block with the other hand because the other person is going to tag you as soon as you do this. You got to block here because they're going to try and knock your teeth out. So jab, 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 right cross, hook, hook. Not a lot of room here. A hook punch is like that, you know, turn it in. You can hook like this in this angle, or you can turn inwards like that. Maybe this angle is better, but not a lot of room. And of course, you can dodge the punches one way or the other. You can block and hit at the same time. That's called counter punching. I digress. So what I'm trying to say is that the hook punch, when you're doing a hook, that's a flirt. For London people, for the British people, they do not flirt. That's the problem, because they do not flirt at all. They don't know how to flirt because of mystery method. All right? Because of mystery method. Mystery, like most tall white guys, pardon my British or French, but most tall white guys do not flirt because they like to build attraction all day with the right cross. All the time. All the time. They like to build attraction. They never ever flirt. So you'll never see flirting. You only see cocky funny. They're always cocky funny all the time when they're starting to speak, you know, in their day game. Always try and make these cocky funny jokes. However, that's wrong, because what I'm trying to say is that my accent has switched completely. But the hook punch is the flirt, but an uppercut is the touch. There's no touching for white guys. White guys will never, ever try to touch in day game. I'm not saying that you need to touch nonstop like an artist. No, of course not. But what I am saying is that you need to start incorporating the flirt into your day game. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Your game will be more dead than Tom Torero, metaphorically speaking, of course. So, London Daygame is like a boxer going in for a big haymaker punch right away, the direct opener, and they try to stagger her a little bit. It's like a Tinder street game where she either swipes left or walks away or swipes right. But most of the time, her looks level will be lower than yours. There are some ugly women there, and only hot ones come from a different country. 5 out of 10 is like a 7 out of 10 over there in Britain. She is fat and unattractive. I know, I used to live there for a short while. So after the direct opener, London Daygame relies heavily on non-stop challenging, self-amusement, push-pull and assumption stories and knowledge as the right cross. So they start with haymaker, right cross, right cross, right cross, right cross. But will that work in an MMA match? No, because you get knocked the fuck out, mate. You get knocked the fuck out. You get knocked the spark out. Never will work in a million fucking years. Okay, I need to go back to my... Okay, let me start speaking like a white guy. All right, so Johnny Lee is speaking like a white guy. All right, so basically, when you try to do this, it's not going to work because you can't just have the same pattern. It's very rigid. So if you're too rigid in day game, you always stack, 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 stack. And that's the big problem. And you don't want to do that. So after that, what happens after they're done building attraction in London Daygame? they start to switch over to the all jabs. They start to go, okay, can't stop speaking the accent, but they start going to all jabs because that's when they build the rapport. They do like attraction building for a few minutes with right crosses, and they switch over to all jabs. Jab, 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 always jab. So first they do a haymaker, assuming she doesn't knock him out. Second of all, they do 4 right crosses in a row. Boom, 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 boom. Very repetitive. Then afterwards, they start to go to a jab. Jab, 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 which is all platonic conversations. Platonic conversations does not make for a very good game. That's the problem with London Daygame because they're predictable. So number one, excuse me real quick. I was just going over there and I saw you and you look like you are a flamingo with your legs and your peg legs and some other bullshit. Oh, you're not a flamingo. I disagree with you. Another one, challenging. Oh, but I noticed you're blonde, but you look very feisty. Push pull. Assumption stories. That's why I came over here because I assume that you were probably from Sweden, but you are not. And then afterwards, self-amusement. If you are Swedish, so am I. That's supposed to be cheeky in my humor. So what? It's all jabs. Anyways, let me tell you more about yourself. Oh yeah, I find that really amazing. You look like you're this. You look like you're that. If we were doing this, what would we do? But and then they get the phone number closed. The phone number closed afterwards. And what happens when they get the phone number closed afterwards is nothing happens. A lot of them will flake on you. They'll flake and they'll flake and they'll flake. That's the problem with London Daygame because this becomes a Tinder street game with a very rigid way of doing things. Right cross or a haymaker for an opener, then push pull, knowledge, challenge, disagreeing, and then self-amusement. And then rapport, 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 rapport. Then after the phone number close, for the ethnic minorities, like the other guy said, that little Vietnamese guy only had like nothing but flakes. My old roommate who was living in London at the time, he had like a lot of dates, but it led to nowhere. That's why only the white guys can mystery method it by going on multiple dates. And then they try to close. Eventually, they start to use the hook on the 3rd or 4th date. So most of the time, it's just jab, jab, right cross, jab, jab. It becomes very, very predictable. And she's going to knock you the spark out. Do you understand that? That's why London Daygame is not a good system. It is rigid and only designed for tall Caucasians, not for Asians, not for Indians. It is a complete joke. It is complete bonkers. It's complete madness. This is not a system that should be taught to anybody. Because it's so rigid, it actually makes itself a worse system in terms of adaptability. London Daygame needs to be stopped and not preached towards the minorities. But on the dates, all they do is just build comfort all day. Be cheeky with right crosses and left. But if you're boxing or MMA match and you're just doing just the same 2 punches, won't she know the pattern by now? If you're not a tall white guy with a decent looking face, and even though you say you're ugly, and maybe you're not, maybe you're actually decent looking, but you want to downplay your looks because you want to think it's your game. But my students, how are my students able to win? I'll talk about that very soon, so stick around. But now that you're starting to realize that London Daygame does not actually work for most minorities because it's too rigid. There's nothing that they can use because after the direct opener, London Daygame relies heavily nonstop on challenging self-amusement, push-pulls, assumption stories, and knowledge as the right cross punch at the attraction stage. That's very rigid and gamey. And she can easily knock you out and auto-reject you for being too gamey, like an autistic fuck. mate, and you are swinging like crazy, right crosses, but that pattern is predictable to her, and she walks away. In the boxing match, you can't just swing hard for a direct opener and then use all right crosses. At any time, she can knock you out. So these dumb wankers will say stuff like, "Oh, yes." I mean, today I'm talking about London Daygame, so that's why I'm speaking this British accent. So don't mind me. Don't mind me. So basically, what I'm saying for Marie, is that London Daygame starts with an opener. It's like a big haymaker. Does that make sense? A big haymaker that does not work at all. In most cases, they get rejected because they run up to her and say, "We're going to get in a boxing match." Haymaker. Nothing. Excuse me, real quick. I was going for over there and I saw you and I want to come by and say hi because you look nice. Then afterwards, they'll be like, do another right cross. "Oh, you're busy. I don't agree with you." They challenge. Then they do a push pull. "You look like a blonde, but at the same time, the carpet may not match the stairs." Right? Or something like that. So it's like a compliment and a takeaway. "Maybe you are Irish." And they're self-amused, right? I'm an Irish, right? Too, right? I'm like an Irish pirate with peg legs. And that's how they talk. For the British people, that's how they talk. And then afterwards, they'll start to use knowledge, try and relate to her. But speaking of Irish, I have parents from Ireland too. From Ireland. I got parents from Ireland, you know. That's why they need to understand when he's speaking like that's Ireland. Ireland, you know, like that. It's like Conor McGregor. Like people don't understand that John Elite cannot drink his alcohol. It's not like a good Irish folk. Come on, let's see how good of an Irish you are, huh? So basically, now for the British folks, they switch over to all jabs because after they finish building their attraction stage, a lot like Mystery Method, they go to all jabs, trying to build rapport. Because they're trying to build rapport, it's a very rigid way. You cannot do an MMA match like this at all. You cannot do an MMA match like this. And then they get a phone number closed that will only work for non-minorities. All right? So basically, what I'm trying to say is that for London Daygame, I'll just say it one more time for the newest person here, that you just cannot give a direct compliment, which is a haymaker, then go into like push-pull, challenging, disagreeing, like challenging, and then afterwards, amusement stories, and then knowledge, and then self-amusement. It's like very, very rigid. That's the problem with the London Daygame model. And then it's all jobs. It's all like a couple minutes of rapport seeking. But the Caucasian, the London, the Brits don't actually touch because they're afraid that if they touch, they can't just SMV it, verbalizing it like a tall white man. So that's the problem. They don't do that because they like most white people, they don't escalate or they escalate too hard. Escalation is uppercut. What's an uppercut? You got to lower your face and then go upwards like that. So to throw a proper uppercut, let me show you. Okay? Please get closer. All right. Uppercut, you got to go lower because if you start to go like this, they can tag you right here, right in the jaw. You see that? Never do this. You have to go down. You got to cover the face. Down at the same time, both legs. And then go right through the chin right here. Short snap. Got it? Got it? But that's a problem because some people, they touch too much. Because when they do the uppercut, they keep touching and touching and touching in Daygame. But London Daygame does not touch at all, not even during the dates. They go through one date after another, like the Mystery Method. And the problem with that is that is too rigid, and there's only left and right because they're trying to be cocky funny. They're trying to be funny, and they should not be trying to be funny. So you see a very rigid system with the same moves over and over again. How the fuck does she not know? That's the problem. She will know that you're doing that. So when they go all rapport, then they're thinking it might take a few days, just like the mystery method. But let me ask you guys a question. If you guys were Asian or Indian or ethnics, do you guys think you have multiple dates? If my old roommate who helped me film Elite 30, that guy is good looking. But if he is just not able to close in London and all the other Asians and Indians cannot close in London, what does that say about London Daygame model? Of course, they're not the only ones that had a problem with London Daygame. There are other systems or other students with the same fucking problem. I had a student who was from London who got laid on the first approach in my boot camp. They say it's impossible in their mind because they're using this rigid system. Not only did he get laid, he got laid on the first approach. He had 4 fuck buddies over here, and he had a 7 out of 10 girlfriend in looks. He also had a 9 out of 10 girlfriend, and he's married with her, actually. This student over here is married. He doesn't want to say it to me, but I know he's married. I've seen his marriage photos in his Instagram. So let's take a look. Hopefully the audio works. Okay, this. So London Daygame. Okay, hopefully this does work. Oh, for fuck's sakes. Ah. Hopefully that works.
You gotta think about them is like, you must never ever put them on a pedestal. You know, stopping set seems to be an issue with a lot of my clients, so we're gonna break it down to pieces. He's getting there. He's getting there. He's improving dramatically. This is one of his first approaches. He got laid with her around the 3rd day of the camp, right after it. He told her he got a blowjob. But the thing is that the more places you go to, right, she feels like she knows you for a longer time. Everyone's different. There's no one size fits all.
First day I was really nervous, like terrified. But now it's starting to make some sense.
He's talking with her, but he's holding one of her hands. He's walking towards the toll location, and he pulls her back home. First day of this weekend. The student, that's cool. I'm not sure, but let's see how it goes.
I told one girl it's impossible. She was pretty hot.
How many fuck buddies did you get? 4. 4?
Yeah.
Okay, how many girlfriends did you get?
2.
What's the scale of the first one out of 10?
7.
Okay, the second one? 9 out of 10.
So you have to ask yourself, why did he get a 9 out of 10 girlfriend? And here's the thing, though. At some point, him and his Indian wingman, because I have another student who's 6'2", who's Indian, I gave him that student as a wingman. So he brought his own British day game bullshit direct game. They say, oh, we're both trying direct game now. It's like, what happened? Did you get any sort of dates or anything? No, they're all flaked. And I was like, of course they all flake because you're using the fucking direct game. And I start yelling at them, both of them. Go back to my system, you fucking idiots. Guess what happened? This guy fucking gets laid, gets a girlfriend, gets another one, and then he fucking gets a 9 out of 10 girlfriend. He showed me a picture. And he married her. Imagine if he stuck with London Daygame. He had 0 lays and just going online dating. This guy, this bald guy, 6'2", probably 3 out of 10 in looks, is fucking marrying 9 out of 10s and having a 7 out of 10 girlfriend, getting laid on the first fucking approach. What the fuck does London Daygame know? They need to be taken down a notch. London Daygame is toxic because it's so fucking rigid. So when you don't think, oh, it's a stat. Dude, within 2 months, he did all this fucking stuff in a row. How is this a stat? How is it 1 in 25? What the fuck are you talking about? It's like sales. You dumb fucks are thinking it's like ads, right? It's like, okay, if I pay for an ad, I could put 5,000 people right through this ad and maybe a small percentage will convert. This low value product, you see your product when you're white, the product's worth more than when the Asian does the same thing with the ad. This little Asian ethnic, this little Indian ethnic tries to do a little bit of this stuff. Not trying to be racist or nothing, but trying to talk in like an Indian accent. Yeah, John can talk in an Indian accent if he wants to. It's easy. Oh my God, I'm an Indian. You can't tell how I feel on the inside. Not just joking, but if you're like a little Indian person and you're trying, let me imitate their act, not trying to be racist. It'll be like, excuse me, real quick, I have a question. I was like going over there and I noticed that you are very cute and I want to come by and say hi. It's like, what? Oh, you like this and that, huh? I'll do a push-pull. Oh my God. I'm disagreeing with you. It's like, dude, what the fuck? I disagree with you. And I'm self-amusement. I have full of love to share. Right cross. And guess what happens? This white girl looking down this little Indian guy. She knocks him the fuck out. Boom. Because his SMV is lower. He's not like a tall white guy. He's not like a Tyson Fury with a fat ass body. No. Just getting like 4 and 5s once in a while. He's like a fucking like literally a lightweight fuck. Going, oh, I can like do this too. I can feel white because it's all game. It's like, dude, there's other things involved. These white guys are banging 4s and 5s. You're ethnic. You wouldn't even get anything if you lived to be a billion in London. Oh, but I'm an engineer, so therefore in London, I understand the London Daygame model because they're very technical. Dude, there's a difference between being technical like Todd V with 4 Daygame late testimonials versus scientific like Johnny Elite. What the fuck? I mean, how many late testimonials do you need to see from Johnny Elite? And how few do you have to see from James Tuss? James Tuss only has 1. So therefore, since he only has 1 Daygame late testimonials, he disqualified because people don't get laid during the fucking training period. Ever. Because they love to do a haymaker, right cross, right cross, right cross, right cross. All jabs for a few minutes and then get a number close. Oh, maybe another time. Get a number close. It's like, what? A number close. Believe it or not, I'm actually like, I'm gonna put name Yad. It's like London Daygame. Yad's like London Daygame. And don't tell anyone this, but I used to know Yad. You're like, what the fuck? That's the problem. Most people don't know that. But here's Yad running off the top of his lungs over here. You see that? That's him right over there. Completely wanker. Like, no offense, right? I don't want to put him under the bus because he's my friend. But there's Yad running off the top of his lungs. I disagree with you. So, yes, we used to Daygame a little bit together. But it doesn't mean that I'm actually into London Daygame. Here's me and Yad, believe it or not. You're like, what the fuck? I know everything about London Daygame. I used to teach every system out there. No, I did not work for him. And I did not, I have no affiliations, but I do know Yad. That's him over there. So, you're like, what the fuck? But wait a minute. You're criticizing their system, but you know the ones who actually made the system. You're like, what the flying fuck is going on here? I know everything about their system. I field tested and split tested every fucking system out there. So, well, we're just, we just hang around sometimes, and Daygame together, but it's not important. He's not that active these days. Not as active these days. But however, saying I do know London very well. London Daygame. I know every fucking tactic of London Daygame. I know every fucking system out there. I field tested and split tested everything. When in the beginning, I taught London Daygame. I taught every fucking direct system. I taught every fucking system to see what works and what doesn't work. And it doesn't seem like direct really works. I only gotten 2 students out of the 577 laid poll testimonials laid. And that's in like 2020, 2012 and 2013. A tall Indian guy. He's like 6'4", getting laid with a Filipina. And then he quits day game to go to night game. That's one guy. The other guy was a 6 foot tall bisexual male. He got laid with direct game. And he got like 3 lays in a row. And then he quit. He had like 10 dates lined up. Tall, white. Decent looking guy. But that's the thing. That direct game, if I continue teaching direct game, since I was teaching day game for more than 10 years now, if I kept teaching direct, I would have just got 2 lay testimonials. The whole thing is a joke. It's not funny at all. That's the problem. Which is now it's all jobs, especially during the rapport stage. She'll knock you spark out, create a numbers game, which wouldn't work for short ethnics. Then they'll move on to dates, building comfort for multiple dates, which is like the mystery method style, using jobs and for the tall whites. And of course, sometimes it doesn't lead to anything and falls short since they don't flirt or escalate during the dates, but try to be cocky funny, doing stupid right crosses and jobs like a clown. And at the end of all that, for tall whites, they finally, at the very end, they'll use a few hooks to use seduction, as they call it. Seduction. Trying to close with seduction like the mystery method. Everything that's the mystery method derivative is bullshit. And just because I criticize London Daygame doesn't mean I want you to go to other coaches who don't teach direct in Europe or whatever. Fuck them. Train with me, John Elite, the world's best day game coach. I'm not saying because you're European and you don't go for direct coaches that you should go for other coaches not teaching direct. No, fuck that. Fuck these people. I'm just saying that you shall go and take 3 months to proficiency if you are not a poor wanker with Jonathan Elite. Does that make sense? So at the end, for the tall whites, they use hook or flirts eventually with seduction. But if you have low SMV, this will not work for you. You get flaked on or swiped left or auto rejected before you even get to this stage. So a low SMV guy can do 10,000 approaches for 2 lays or 0 easily using the London Daygame style. She'll talk, but without any real flirting. So it's hard to get her out to move things forward. I mean, if I got that bald and 6'2" student laid with just body language, tonality, and also social skills flow drill without actually doing anything else, then this debunks is the numbers game. After his training, he went back to London Daygame, and I told him not to do that. And then he got laid again when he stopped going direct. It's funny how it all works out, isn't it? And third, the system is all about jabs and no hooks. London Daygame doesn't flirt. Cocky funny is not a flirt, and most of them uses cheesy autistic verbals. And not to build attraction all day, even on the dates. And I'm not sure why. White people do not flirt because they're cocky, funny, wankers. They're 6s and 7s, like wankers. So you see the other dating coaches using stupid romantic flirts until the student does 10,000 romantic flirts, spiking emotions, then uses alcohol and wrestles with drunk women to bypass consent objections. I'm not saying you should go to those kind of coaches because that's fucking stupid. Just because you don't go direct doesn't mean you go to alcohol maxing. And finally, London Daygame focuses on comfort and building rapport. but without any uppercuts and touches. They don't even flirt using hook punches, so they don't move things forward. They are too busy trying to build attraction and comfort like most white guys. Since white people have more SMV, they try to play it safer, like the mystery method. It's all going verbal. They don't escalate. You wouldn't be able to move things forward to the next level, and you often end up getting flaked on or rejected. It's clear that London Daygame isn't the best system for lower SMV daygamers. And don't worry, there is hope. With the right coaching and the right system, my system, you can get the results you want from Daygame without being a wanker or a tosser. Exactly the problem with London Daygame. Because John Elite has the solution you're looking for. And here's my solution for my Daygame system, because it has the super tactics and defense like Mayweather Jr. That's why my system is so much better. It's adaptive and tailored to lower SMV daygamers. The hybrid opener gets her into the ring without her knowing that, and you're changing the topic with a transition, and she engages in a friendly sparring match, even calling out her worries with a statement of empathy and calling out the big objections. In a way, that is kind of like superior tactics, like weapon disarmament. And I'll show you why. The hybrid opener is superior to the direct or indirect. A lot of people will say, oh, direct and indirect does not matter. It's about opening. Those guys have less like late testimonials than me. They don't know what they're talking about. I totally disagree. So when you look at the hybrid opener, which I'm going to play, so stay tuned, you'll start to see that there's a superior tactic you can use to even the odds in London when you are a low SMV ethnic daygamer. All right? So let's try to find it, the video, because I don't know which video it is. Let's see. It's not this one. Okay, romance equals auto rejected. Maybe it's this one. I'm gonna.
You say, excuse me real quick.
Okay, let's go back to it.
Talk to her with a hybrid opener. You say, excuse me real quick. I have a question.
Every algorithm is superior because when you say excuse me, it's polite. You don't want to be like, hey, or I want to meet you real quick. That's really impolite. And she might walk away. Korean numbers game. It's not like a 3-second rule. Excuse me real quick, I have a question. Now she has to listen.
Looking for a place called Zara. Do you know where I can find it? You have to look.
That's the thing. When you ask her, listen, excuse me real quick, I have a question. I was looking for a place called Zara. Do you know where I can find it? Now she has no choice. She cannot walk away. Because now she's trapped. You're redirecting in a weapon disarm the line of fire. But then you have to transition. If you don't transition out of the beginner opener, you're stuck like Paul Janka or Skamka, as they say. Listen carefully.
Now she stopped. And then all of a sudden you say, oh, by the way, I just noticed something about you right now.
That's the thing. Oh, by the way, I just noticed something about you. When you go upwards, when you speak, I'm not saying you gotta speak posh, but when you speak properly, when it's higher, if it's all high up here, let's say 70% of it's high, you open 70% without getting rejected. If you open only like 20% high, oh, by the way, I just noticed something about you. It only opened 20%. This becomes a science, a repeatable science, because now you're changing the topic like it's a natural conversation. And all of a sudden you notice something about her. Is that simple, guys? Come on now.
Tonality went up and faster. I just noticed that you are X plus Y. Are you Z? You have red hair and you have freckles. Are you Irish by any chance? He's more natural.
You can make up anything. Like, for example, let's say she was like a blonde, like I said earlier, right? Excuse me real quick. I have a question. I was looking for a place called Zara. Do you know where I can find it? Oh, oh, blah, 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 it's over there. You got blah. Oh, by the way, I just noticed something about you. She's like, what? I just noticed you have blonde hair and you're very tall. Are you Swedish by any chance? Oh my god, I am Swedish. How do you know? Hey, I know we should be social distancing, but hey, I've been triple vaxxed. I'm healthy. Oh, it's okay, right? I'm also like blah blah blah. I don't care. Or let's say you were in Tesco, right? And you only got a couple pence, and you want to buy a luchador drink or whatever it's called, like that energy drink. And you're like, excuse me, real quick, I have a question. I was looking for an energy drink called luchador or whatever the fuck it is. Do you know where I can find it? Oh, it's just over there. You just go down the corner and you'll find it at the end of the aisle. Oh, by the way, I just noticed something about you right now. Don't go down. I just noticed something about you right now. They're like, what? What do you notice? I just noticed that you have more of a Hackney accent. Are you from that region of that area? And then she's like, oh my God, no, I'm not. But I actually come from a more posh neighborhood. This is how British people talk. They don't just say, oh, cheerio with the horses coming around. But that's the thing. And then she starts to speak, right? And then now she's wondering, what the fuck are you talking to me in Tesco for? Are you one of them street harassers? And then it's like, and no, you got to call it out now. You got to use the statements of empathy. Hey, I know most people do not communicate in a Tesco, but I wanted to talk to you because you look like you're somebody that knows more about these kind of drinks. You look like a person that really gets around when it comes to drinks. And she's like, oh, that's funny. Okay, no problem. I can spend a few moments to talk to you. And then you're like, that's wonderful. No, I'm just joking, but it's not trying to be racist. But you're Indian and you're like, I'm Indian. I'm trying to speak in a like a posh accent. I'm in London and I'm doing London Daygame. And I gotta disagree with you. Oh my God. You don't know anything about these drinks. And push pull. You are not Swedish. You probably are something else. Maybe you're Indian. It's like, what the fuck? It's like, you can't use their stupid tactics. If you use my tactics, you can open 100% and get 0 rejections. Now you fucks your fucking stats. You dumb fucks. You kunts. Don't you get it? You can, for the dumb fucking Indian day, not Indian day gamers. I like Indian day gamers. Not the ones from India. They're all banned because they have no money. But I like the Indians that are born in the West. You know, the engineers, they're really nice people. I don't like to teach the benchodes. The benchodes are like the low SMV ones who thinks that their looks don't matter. They're like 3 out of 10. They'll deny everything. They're like, John, I'm not sighing in my voice. Fucking delusional. My other Indian students already got laid. One of them already is going to get married soon from 3MP. The other one needs to get back in the fucking field if you're watching this. So, having said that, do you see how the hybrid opener is superior in every way?
Something you just noticed last minute. This is not a cold read. If she's afraid, right? So, hey, I know we should be social distancing, but don't worry. I've been triple vaxxed. I'm healthy. I have over 500 plus student find.
Of course, I have over 500 plus student find intimacy. And that's the thing, because for them, they're always thinking about how to do 500 approaches. They're like machine gun approach. Every single set, there's 10 women there, and there's like 50 people. They have to approach all 10 and be a street harasser. That's the problem with London Daygame. They're like, how many sets do you have to do acting like a rigid fuck, a kunt, a tosser? How many sets? Oh, 500. I was like, what are you talking about? What about your body language? It's horrible. It's horrid. How dare you go out there with the wrong body language and no social skills whatsoever, just making statements all the time. It's not even a job, like a social skill flow drill. It's almost like a fucking underhand job, like a Irish. It's a half-assing it. That is not how you day game. That's why London Daygame is stupid. So how does the Johnny Lead system day game properly? Because none of my students actually goes direct except for 2 of them in 2012, 2013. But I digress. They all used the hybrid opener during the pandemic and also the inflation. It's nearly impossible for her to escape. since it was built as a weapon disarm, kind of like the Israeli Krav Maga, which I've taken. Like I said, I've taken martial arts in mixed martial arts. I've taken Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've taken Krav Maga. That's my background in fighting. Yes, I can knock you the Spock out. So yes, I'm trained like an Israeli soldier. So like a trained killer, like John Wick. But that doesn't matter. I'm not going to be violent. Not as violent as the guys out there in London where they're stabbing everybody all the fucking time. I'm wankers. It's unbelievable. So, as I was saying, it's nearly impossible for her to escape the hybrid opener since it was built as a weapon disarm. In this case, metaphorically speaking, you disarm her fear in 4 stages. It got me non-stop lead testimonials. So you, even if you're dumb and you dismiss it and it works so it's smart. Then if it doesn't work, like James Tusk, mental bullshit, because he's 6s and 7s, which is nonsense, a wanker, a tosser. Sounds smart, but he's dumb because it does not work. So that's the thing. I start with the social skill flow drill to get her talking more, which is the job. But when she starts jabbing backwards, right? Then the more she jabs, then I can throw a hook punch. Because I throw a hook, but I do not stay there because she can knock me the Spock out. Don't you understand? This is tactics and strategy. If I kept jabbing and she's jabbing back and I got her engaged and I do not throw a side hook punch on the side, then I missed the opportunity. You see, the problem with London Daygame is that they're not going to throw a hook punch. They're not going to use a flirts because they're building attraction. They're probably going to be throwing a right punch and getting punched in the teeth, calling a numbers game. But after the hook punch, I'll go back to a jab, back to the social skill flow drill. But because they can't do the flow drill, they're doing this underhand Irish statements, getting a short answer. That's why they cannot flirt. Because for them, they can't flirt because they're not getting her to emotionally invest more. You see, that's the problem with London Daygame. In the MMA match, you got to get them engaged so you can tag them from the side. But what happens when she's giving attitude? She's acting like, like her fanny is in a bunch. Like something's wrong with her fanny. What do you do then? Very simple. What you do is that you use the right cross. But I do not use the same things at London Daygame. I don't need to use assumption stories. I don't need to use challenging. I do not need to use what they called, senior moment here, knowledge, knowing her background, challenging push-pull, assumption stories, and also self-amusement. Yes, I remembered now. Good thing I'm not gone bonkers or senile yet. But however, those things that they do, they don't tease. Because when you tease her properly, you're using the right cross. So in terms of martial arts, let's say this is the punch coming towards my face, okay? And they want to knock me the Spock out. You got to knock it out of the way. And you got to punch back at the same time. You get it? Boom, boom, at the same time. This is called counter punch. Boom. So it's really Krav Maga. We get out of the way of the punch. When you see my videos in Krav Maga, if you move your head out of the way like this, the punch will not tag you right in the fucking chin. See that? It won't tag you. But if you do this at the same time, a punch is coming this way, and you also keep your hands up here, you can also block it and parry it. Even if you did not punch, that punch will slip by you. Get it? It'll come at you, and it'll slip right by you. Come at you, slip right by you, because you just lightly top it. You parry the punch out of the way like this. So it'll come at you, parry. Come at you, parry. Come at you, parry. But however, you can use a counter punch. Boom. Like Mayweather Jr., who's a great counter puncher. Boom. Right in the chin. Boom. So every time she talks more, because you're jobbing, she's engaged. She's talking more. She's giving you keywords to job at the chin. Every time she does that, she lowers her guard a little bit like this. Does that make sense? because she lowers her guard a little bit, it gives you a perfect point of penetration. Now you can actually start to tag her back. Metaphorically speaking, of course, we're not talking about Chris Brown here, knocking Rihanna the spark out. So basically, when you're counter punching, now you give an opening. Of course, I'm not going to teach you how to do it. You got to take my training, for the secret sauce. But I can give you the strategy to make you think differently, especially for the British out there with the low odds of success. They never thought about counter punching, so they call it a numbers game. But if you're on the line in the beginning and you're trying to go for a haymaker, going for a direct, you're off the line. That means you're not going on the line, you're deviating upwards, and then you call it a numbers game. But let's say she still stayed and you were not Indian or ethnic. She still went back on the line. Then you try to go right cross, right cross, right cross, right cross. However, the problem with that is that because you're so rigid and so predictable, she still knocks you the spark out. Because you don't know how to defend against it, because you don't have the body language. And that's what Elite 30 is. It's like Mayweather's defense. You know how the Philly shell defense, how Mayweather does this kind of thing? His hands down here. He can block over here. He can block up here. He can block down there. He can slip by the punches, hit them back. Because the Philly shell defense, he knows how to roll by the punches. That's what Elite 30 is. It's the Philly shell defense. London Daygame is all offense. All about strikes, all about right crosses. They have no defense. But the defense, because you're rejection proof, is what actually creates less of a numbers game. It tightens up the numbers game. That's right. There is no numbers game in the first place because you're off the line. You don't know how to knock her with the right cross or counter punch back on the line. I'm not going to teach you here because how else are you going to learn unless you learn from me? Just because I say direct is not a good system doesn't mean you go and say, oh, fuck direct, right? These wankers, let's go for another coach that is not direct. No, fuck that. Go train with John Elite, the guy with a proven late testimonials. And the students are getting some of the hottest women in all of London. Even if they say there's no models, John, everyone's like, she looks like she's 6s and 7s, a little bit crazy. She's not that attractive over here. How are they getting models? Well, they do exist, apparently. And they're not always born in London because they're a little bit limey. Crikey. Tosses. Anyways, I digress. So let's continue. So once you learn how to do that and you learn how to flirt and you go back to the job, so that becomes like sales. Everything's back on the line. So I don't make stupid statements all day, stacking, and stacking. It doesn't get her talking more because you get a short answer, actually. That's the problem. And I reviewed this in my YouTube shorts. So I talk about these stupid methods of speaking like this.
I have over 500 plus students finding intimacy with my coaching. But you cannot start speaking like this, especially a lot of coaches. You look like you are XYZ.
You look like you're XYZ. It sounds exactly like London Daygame. All autistic people do this. That's why they use statements. But however, outside London Daygame, they don't just stack statements. They also ask a question afterwards.
Like, I guess so. And then you ask a question, but are you XYZ? She's like,
but you always get a short answer. Don't you see? These shallow questions do not actually penetrate because they can't do this triangular flow drill. A flow drill has 3 steps. And for autistic folks, they can't do 3 steps at once. At all. 3 steps is hard because that's why they love the London Daygame model. Because they don't have to do the 3 steps. They just do 1 step over and over again. Just statements, statements, statements. Don't you see, guys? It's completely madness. You can't start speaking like this. And then they go back to another statement. Stock.
not really. I'm more of this. You also look like you do this or that.
Bruh.
No, I don't. And they ask a question again.
Bruh.
After 3 questions, she says, she has a boyfriend.
Emotional damage.
And then you call it a numbers game. In fact, when she says she has a boyfriend, Now, because you're so predictable and she knows you're a pickup artist, she throws her right cross and knocks you the spark out easily. You created yourself off the line because you don't know how to play the game properly like Mayweather Jr. You have no defense like Elite 30 from Hard Case to Hero. It's all your fault. So that's the wrong way to do this social skill zombie flow drill, which is stupid, using statements all day, then questions, then back to statements, and she doesn't even talk more. They are statement making clowns. And the problem with the statements is that it gets really short answers. And if you were a London Daygamer saying you look cheeky or you look posh at the same time with your peg legs like a pirate like James Tusk, she will give you a short answer to your cheesy verbals. Like, I don't know. like, of course I know. Now you are stuck to make another statement, and I saw you from over there, and you look like you're a pigeon on the street lamp. She says no. Then you say, you make another statement. You look like you are, honestly, you're an autistic person. Autistic person. And that's the thing. Even on the dates, I know exactly when to flirt, when to throw the hook, when to go back to the jabs, when to use the right cross to keep her on the line. And uppercuts. You'll never use uppercuts. I don't have to use uppercuts. My students don't have to use uppercuts or touches either. However, that's the thing. This is a boxing match, and you guys are so rigid. Your opponent is not going to be predictable. So that's why when you're a bigger London Daygamer and you're tall, you're 6'2", that's why you can knock out, metaphorically speaking, of course, women that are below your weight class. So therefore, you're validating women and you find no solutions. And all the other ethnics, these short little boxers that have no power in the punches, and these low SMV, this low SMV fucks, they get knocked out using your method because they don't know any better. It is your fault. You guys is all at fault. You guys are teaching something that does not work. And when I was in London the other time, I've noticed that only Johnny Berber was there. Not James Tusk, not Tom Terrero, not all these other coaches. They're over there, all over the fucking Poland. I see fucking, what's his face? Krauser. The guy's like fucking 6'2". He looks like a 5'7" guy. Guy's huge, you know? He looks small as shit. I kept calling him a faggot. Not to discriminate against gay people, but I'm just talking about him. I call him that 30 times in a row in Poland. That's the thing, though. I have no respect for these London Daygamers. But they're not even in London because the game does not work. They have to play a numbers game. They're no better than the POAs there. They're just banging some ugly trash. Some broken trash. And that's why they go to other Eastern European countries to cash in on the accent in SMV. But of course, I'm not saying the solution is to go and do stupid autistic romantic flirts either, and then try to wrestle with drunk women in a bedroom, and then to bypass consent. No, I'm not saying that either. That is not the solution. The solution is you should be skill maxing over here. A John Elite dating. You should be learning here. But I digress. Now that you're starting to see that is really like a rock, paper, and scissors game to keep her on the line. In London Daygame, because the rigid method of fighting does not actually work. So, most of the time, she's going to roll her eyes. That's what you'll notice. Whenever you're doing this, oh, you look like you have a peg leg or whatever, like a pirate, like James Tusk. She'll start to sound a little bit bitchy in her voice, like, you know, like a fanny, like something's like her panties are in a bunch. Then she'll turn around sideways, which you don't even notice because you're autistic, with your bad fashion because you can't afford anything. Unlike my student, who at least tries, then she will put one foot away, ready to leave. But most of you tall, autistic London Daygamers doesn't even notice because they can't read emotions. They just stack without empathy. They're socially uncalibrated. So in their mind, they cannot understand why it's not a statistic. In the minorities, they insult the minorities But instead, my minorities knocks them the spark out. So they have no social skills. My London student, when I first trained him, he had to learn how to do the social skill flow drill, how to do the jobs for 2 weeks in a row. And I start yelling at him. It's like, John, why are you yelling at me? I was like, dude, you got to get this right. But John, I'm trying my he's scared. But for 2 weeks for elite access, I've been yelling at him, and then eventually he got it. He eventually started to float. He was sinking all the time because he was autistic. His neural pathways did not catch up. And that's the problem when you're spam approaching. When you're spam approaching all the time in London, England, you're reinforcing bad habits over and over again. Because you're reinforcing bad habits, it makes it harder to change. And you're used to getting 4s and 5s because that's all you see out there. All the women with their large fannies and the overweight, with the food everywhere in London, and the food is awful, disgusting. I don't like any of it. But everyone gets fat over there, and it's normal. You don't see skinny people in London. They're just chunky. They got big legs for no reason at all because they can't stop eating. So that's why you keep validating 4s and 5 out of 10s because you couldn't figure out where the models are. But yet my students still bang the models. There's actually a Victoria's Secret. If you look at the McDonald's right there in London, in the middle there, and behind the other side near the restaurants, right on the very back there of all those long rows of restaurants there, not fast food, but restaurants, you'll find a Victoria's Secret headquarters in London. And not only that, my student, when he's banging models, we're not talking about Instagram models. She actually does that for a living, not just some self-proclaimed Instagram model. Anyone could be. That's why they moved there. The 2 blonde women were not originally from Britain. They're from a different country. But however, he was able to bang both of them because the sisters look the same. He fucked both of them by mistake. By mistake. But still, it's a great story because 11 lays, 10 fuck buddies, a 5-some, 2 models, and 1 model girlfriend. And he got out of the game. So he had to learn how to do social skill flow drill 2 weeks. Then he stopped getting auto-rejected. He kept polling, wondering what just happened, John. Then he got his lay-in. He didn't believe that this was the solution at first. He was like, that's it? It doesn't make any sense. I was like, motherfucker. Shit, you got to understand that if you start doing it like my way, you're not only going to bang them bitches, you're going to start to enjoy it. You dig? That's right. So basically, I can't stop switching accents today. He got 4 fuck buddies in a row and using my social skill flow drill. You don't need to understand it. But he was about to commit suicide using London Daygame stuff. That was his last month alive. In Todd V mixed with it. Another Asian student, 8 years, no lays, using London Daygame. He didn't understand why. For a 3-month proficiency. But he banged the white girl. He banged the white girl. And has a white girl fuck buddy. And I still need to release the next lay testimonial of the student. But you can start to see that, you know, when you go for same-day lays, use more jabs, you know, remove the right crosses and hook punches for the flirts, right? So does that make sense? Use more jabs, right crosses and hook punches is the flirting, and some uppercuts for the touching. And that's a funny thing at the end, right? I'll maneuver her home, sexualize it to the max, and deal with the objections until she says yes. You got to loop it. Loop it and loop it. That's why they're getting stuck there in London, especially during the inflation. They're no longer able to close, and they don't know why. Because her survival value is affected. Back then, during the pandemic, during the Wuhan flu, you know, it's not Wuhan. It turns out it's from the lab leak now. But back then, when Asians used to get knocked the spark out. What I'm saying is, back then, is that, what was I saying? Yeah, you got to deal with objections because right now, because she's financially affected too. So she's not in a good state of mind. Does that make sense? She's not in a good state of mind. So therefore, you're going to get more harsher rejections. She's going to knock you the spark out over and over. That's the thing. Over and over, she's going to knock you out. And from there, that's why it's harder for you guys, and you guys are getting frustrated. Yet my students keep getting laid nonstop for some unknown reason, but because they know something you don't. They're like Mayweather Jr. They can box. They're not just a tall boxer, which can occasionally win, but they don't practice. They don't drill it down. And since the inflation affected her, in the past the pandemic, she could work from home. Now she can't. By using this system, now you can spike the attraction in the left and right brain and make yourself effectively rejection proof. That's right. The left brain's very logical. You got to deal with her logical side too, not just the emotional side, which is the right side. You try to stack and stack and stack and build attraction. You may game the right brain, the emotional, abstract side, but you're not gaming the left brain, dealing with the objections. You're not dealing with the objections. So that's a problem. So you're not understanding that you need to be able to conquer both sides of her brain. That's the power of Elite 30 in my Kaizen program, which has a 100% success rate. That's right. Every student has gotten laid from it so far. But the ones that did not, which is rare, the reason is they didn't finish the Kaizen, so it still has a 100% success rate. They've been kicked out or they quit because it's too hard, because it's too autistic. But everybody else that completed it all got laid. It's 100% success rate. And what I teach is social calibrations and social skills, and I did not teach any sort of game tactics. That's the funny thing. We should look at a testimonial. The harder instant. That's a stupid question. Not even worth my breath to answer. Give a thumbs up if you guys are learning something. So let's go back to the Asian guy who used London Daygame for 8 years and did not get laid from it. It's a stupid, stupid system. It's a stupid system that makes no sense whatsoever. It's for wankers and tossers. All right, now listen to his testimonial about. He was talking about London Daygame and RSD before. That's what he was studying. Okay, now let's hear it. I'll show you what he looks like. Just stick around. Hopefully the audio works.
To talk about John Elite and my experience with his coaching. So a bit about myself. I'm a 5'7" Chinese.
So he's 5'7" and Chinese and trying to use London Daygame mixed with RSD spam approaching. Do you think something like that will work?
Asian from Southeast Asia that immigrated from there to the US. So currently I'm working in the US as a software engineer. And
did you know most of my students are software engineers or engineers in general? Almost most of my students taking 3 months to proficiency are all engineers. And even when I talk on the phone with a lot of people, I was like, what do you do for a living? Let me guess, you are an engineer. Am I right? And they're like, oh my God, John, how do you know? Give a thumbs up for the engineers and good for the algorithms. But they're like, of course I know. I mean, most of my students these days are engineers. They're very logical. They're very logical. And what I like about the logical students are they're not very emotional. The guys who are emotional are broke. And, you know, they have no money at all. They're completely broke because they're autistic. I want the Asperger's. You can hear he's Asperger because he's monotone.
You know, typical engineers. I was a very unsociable person, very logical, couldn't do small talk at all. Very boring, very monotonous person. So didn't know how to talk to girls at all. But after going through John's program, just 2 weeks of it, not even the full thing yet, I was able to get laid with a white girl just yesterday.
Yeah, you can see over there. You can see in the pictures of him getting with a white girl over here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's some BDSM action happening. He tied her up and he slapped her around, which is totally consensual between two adults. But here's an Asian guy, and he's also banging a white girl, but it's all censored, so it should be fine. See that? Just a regular looking average 5'7" engineer. Of course, that's not an Insta date. James Tusk only has one Daygame late testimonial because he's a psychopath. Because since he's a psychopath, he has no emotions. Therefore, most women get bored very easily, despite him being really good looking.
And so I met her at a mall, and I just followed all of John's instructions.
Did you know this student over here, this Chinese 5'7" low SMV student that never got laid using London Daygame? Did you know that it only took him 5 approaches that day? When he leveled up, 5 approaches to get that lay. 5. What does that say about numbers game, about stats, about London? It's nothing at all because the stats are not true. If 5 approaches would seem impossible to these guys, but they don't understand because it's like sales, keeping them on the line. You got to keep her on the line. You got to tease at the right times. You got to flirt at the right times. You got to keep her on the line, like Mayweather Jr., winning every single match, 50-0. Using my system is exactly the same as Mayweather Jr. That's how you win. But instead, what do? You have a rigid system where you do a haymaker, all right crosses, push pulls, teases, knowledge, challenging, self-amusement. Then you go to all jabs, which is all rapport. Doesn't work. And then you go get a number close, and they call it Insta date, whatever the fuck. That's like hanging out. That's like a Insta hangout, not Insta date. If they're sitting in a bench. Well, that's the thing, though. He doesn't actually have any emotions. That's why he needs short number closes. And he's completely delusional. So I'm more, but yeah, I mean, he's more calm. So I still say he's a psychopath. That's why I think.
How to approach a girl, how to open her, how to talk to her and keep a conversation going for like 5 to 6 minutes. And finally, I number closed her. And a week later,
all he did was Kaizen in the body language, like Mayweather Jr.'s, Philly shell defense that never gets hit. It's like Elite 30 or Kaizen, and that solves all the problems. That solves all the problems. It's that simple. You guys make it more difficult than it really is. Because 55% of your communications is nonverbal communications. 36% of your communications is also your tonality. Only 7% is your verbals. So therefore, you're using all these cheesy verbal lines of London Daygame. Stock. But what's that going to do with the cheesy verbals? You're only focusing on the 7%. Therefore, it creates a start getting and validating 4 and 5 out of 10s. That's why they're stuck just by being tall white in that environment, and they cannot understand anything I'm teaching.
I invited her on a date, which she said yes to, and John gave me...
That's the funny thing. My students don't get flaked on after they leveled up because the 55% from the social skill flow drill, which gets her engaged like a boxer, but the body is always slipping by the punches like Mayweather Jr. That creates a lot of attraction because she cannot knock him out. He's rejection proof. She can't knock him out. And she's wondering what's happening here. This guy's unlike anybody she's ever met before. Then, because of that, the longer he's in that match and not getting knocked out, she starts to submit. She starts to get attracted. She comes out on a date. But they don't understand that because they're squaring off. That puts a lot of pressure on her. You got to empathize with her. Every time you square off after giving a haymaker, like a direct opener, it does not work.
Even more instructions on what to do on the date and how to end the date and pull her to my place. So I just followed it, managed to get her to my place, dealt with her objections like the way John teaches it, and managed to get a blowjob from her. Because, she was resisting a bit. She was saying like, oh, I'm not on the pill. I'm not supposed to be in a guy's house tonight. My mom doesn't know about it. There were she had a lot of objections basically about being there. But following John's teachings, I was able to deal with them and got her in the mood. So, I mean, it ended that day with a blowjob because her mom called and she needed to go back early. But after that, I mean, John just told me to text her and plan another date to hang out. So I did that. And next week,
The reason why there was a delay in the date was because he caught COVID. He caught COVID, and so did she. They're both COVID positive, but that's why he had to take and wait until a negative PCR test. After that, then they start to meet again, and they fucked. Night game is a lot easier because day game is like 20 out of 35 for the algorithms. If you're 10 out of 10, if you're already white, even though they suck at day game, that's why they always talk about looks. Looks is out of 10 in terms of height. You could be ugly, tall, white, but still have a decent amount of value just because you're tall. Most of my students are very average looking. They're not good looking. Although I taught a lot of guys who look like male models or like Justin Bieber and stuff like that. However, it doesn't mean anything because the problem with London Day Game is that what they're focusing on is the other categories. Social skills, social calibrations, they do not have it. So they don't get any of those points, the 2.5 points each. Emotional control, they try to chill out, so they might get a little bit of points, and they might, they use game with 2.5 points. But that game is not very high because it doesn't work for the ethnics. The short Indians and the short Asians does not work for them. So therefore, when they try to use London Day Game, the game is not good enough because the Asians only have a 1 out of 10 perceived natural status. And also, the Indians, the ethnics, has a 2 out of 10 perceived natural status being bench hold. So that's the problem. Because a 2 out of 10, you cannot tell a boxer that is a lot shorter and a lot less skilled and a lot less value. They win less matches. They get knocked the spark out every single time when they start to do the London Day Game model. They can go through 5,000 approaches, and if they don't have any value at all, they can get all rejections. That's why these tall whites will laugh at these ethnics. But when my students get in the boxing ring, they're like Mayweather Jr. They dodge every single punch and they counterattack at the right times. They flirt with the right hooks. They're exactly like Mayweather. They know when to right cross and when to tease whenever she's off the line and go back to the job. It's a game of rock, paper, and scissors. They know how to use the social skill flow drill. These are a lot of dumb questions. Not even worth answering. If you learn my system, then you can apply to night game because a lot of my students, they use it for night game. They get laid super fast because they're way above 15 out of 20 or 35. They're above 15 out of 35.
I was able to get her out again, and this time I got laid with her. So this girl was like a brunette, born and raised in the U.S., so pure white girl. So, I mean, if I can do it with John's system, I mean, everyone can. Because the course I took from John was Kaizen, at least the first course. I'm part of his 3MP bundle, which is 3 months to proficiency. And I'm only in the first 2 weeks of his program. So currently, after 2 weeks of training, I was able to get laid with a girl on Daygame. So, I mean, I think everyone can do it.
Just dress rich, right? You don't need to be rich. Just dress rich. But my students have a specific way of dressing. Unless you are my student, you won't know how to do it. But you look at the guy with 10 fuck buddies, he actually knows exactly how to dress. He's actually dressed exactly like my students in his testimonials. So, and he uses that for day game. That actually was part of his equation because it raises looks, it raises money, it raises status. Seriously, it raised every category.
So, and the funny thing is, I didn't even learn anything about game yet. So far, he's only taught me social skills, fashion, how to stand, body posture, and social skills.
What the fuck? I didn't teach him how to actually use game tactics because that's only 2.5 points that these guys are focusing on. That's why they're stuck with the London Daygame model because they only focus on the tactics. They're not focused on the body language, and they're not focused on the social calibrations, the nonverbal communications. So therefore, they don't get the 5 points that my students have. That 5 points is bigger than the 2.5 points of game. And if game really works so well, why do some coaches need to wrestle with drunk women in the bedroom? I'm not talking about London Daygame. I'm talking about why would they need to do that? If game worked, it actually debunks game. So everybody's just status maxing on the race and mass number approaches and using game crutches. That's not like my students don't use game crutches. They use skill maxing. They don't use status maxing, they use skill maxing. Everything behind that point in the boxing match, that round, let's say, for example, that you had a really, really bad day game, but you had a good Instagram. You have like a lot of clout. What happens is that when you use an Instagram close at that particular point in the interaction, everything before it does not work. So if you take away the Instagram, it will not convert. Nothing will happen. So therefore, without that status maxing, or if you go all the way to the bedroom using romance and romantic flirts over and over, but at the very end of the bedroom, you use alcohol, big champagne bottle, and you wrestle with her to deal with consent and bypassing the objections, it does not work. That means everything before that is not transferable in their products. So in their products, you'll never ever get laid until you take their boot camps. Then you start to learn the alcohol crutches or the status maxing. That is not game. That is not transferable. And you're paying like more than $5,000 just to learn how to wrestle with drunk women using alcohol or using status maxing or borrowing the status of the coach. I mean, it's cool that they play a setup game. And I'm talking about a lot of coaches. I'm not just talking about one. Many coaches have this style in Red Pill these days, trying to use status and clout in social media to close. But that's the thing, though. That's the funny thing. So
no game because I do not know how to flirt yet. I do not know how to tease yet, and everything was done online. So even with those, I mean, he was able to guide me.
Yeah, I mean, I can even teach him online. It was easy because if I focus on game without the game crutches, this is not going to work. You can get knocked the spark out every single time. So therefore, yeah, I still Sarge just fine. So still day game. And who gives a fuck? I mean, if you dress well, you already got her wet and attracted, especially when you're dressing with the right watches, like the Rolex looking watches. I'm not going to say which one, that one my students uses, but however, that's just a funny thing.
Everything and got my first lay. So, yeah. I mean, his lessons covers everything. So in terms of fashion,
if you change your fashion, you look like a husband material frame because there's 6 frames. You got the fuckboy frame, you have the boyfriend girlfriend frame, you also have the social circle friend zone frame, you got the husband material, you got the daddy daughter frame, like the seeking arrangements. You also have the high status frame. Through all these frames, if you dress husband material, guess what? Doesn't matter, because all women wants to get married one day. That's a secret, because it's evolutionary psychology. They want the highest value mate. You get a huge tactical advantage by dressing in a way that is husband material and whitewashed. That can raise a 2 out of 10 perceived natural status Indian guy into 4 out of 10, which is whitewash Indian. And they cannot even tell your race when you do that. It's that simple. So there's a lot of advantages by utilizing fashion. It's a huge advantage in day game. but they dismiss it. They don't like the haircut. They don't like the fashion. But what do they know? What do they know? They don't know what they're talking about.
And he basically instructed me on what to get. I went out in the store. I tried a bunch of clothes, sent him all the pictures. He looked through them and basically tells you what exactly you need to wear.
Mhm.
And he'll send you a list of what to buy, what to wear, how to wear it. And for your hairstyle,
That's the problem with London Daygame. They just dress like shite, and they expect to get high quality women dressing like shite.
he'll send you a bunch of pictures and instructions on how exactly to get it cut. And even when you get it cut, he will look through the video of what the barber does
That's right.
and give live feedback on what you need to change and what you need to tell them and what the barber needs to change. So he guides you through every step of the process. He holds your hand and goes through everything with you. In terms of his training, he is definitely a tough coach. He will do whatever it takes to get your brain to learn what to do. Some days I had to stand in the right body posture for like hours in order to train my brain to stand in a specific way without thinking. And especially a social flow drill, I couldn't get it at first. I was fully left brain, couldn't process it, couldn't understand how to do it. So I just had to grind. And some days we were...
It took like 2 weeks for the other London student, the white guy, the British guy, to learn the social skill flow drill in the 3 steps. The Mayweather punch, the jab. It took this guy a lot longer. It took him like quite a while too. It's almost like 3 weeks because the first week of Kaizen is the social skill flow drill for 7 days. And then 2 weeks in a row, he started practicing that. Then he got laid with a white girl. A fuck buddy now. And that's the thing. That's what happens when you listen to Johnny Elite without using alcohol maxing, without status maxing, and without mass approaching with your bad fashion and your direct game, which is rigid as hell.
Practicing till like 2 a.m. So he is definitely a tough coach, but he does it because he cares. And he does it because...
That's the thing though. When you ask yourself, when you're doing boxing, it's like these London Daygamers are going out there with the SMV, the size, and they're just boxing like the amateurs, like the street fighting. They don't have any skills, and they win occasionally, and they think everybody can do the same thing. Is that mad? Think about this way. Every single job, like a surgeon, for example, if he does not practice drilling down all this cutting into drills and stuff, practicing on these, bodies and stuff over and over, then he will not get the skills down. It's the same with basketball. If they don't drill it down, just like public speakers, if they don't drill it down, every single job in the world, military, every job, working at McDonald's, everybody has to learn and get trained and drill it down, except for London Daygame and direct game. They have no skills and they're reinforcing bad habits. Don't you see a problem with that? It's like it makes so much sense. Has the world gone mad? The Daygame world has gone mad. Crazy. Crikey.
That's what's necessary to get you results. So if you want a coach that will push you to level up and get results, he is absolutely the man for you. And throughout all his coachings, I had a lot of mental issues. I had a lot of self-esteem and confidence issues. I had very, very bad approach anxiety. There was one day where I couldn't approach. I was such a nervous wreck that I was in the bathroom just crying and going like, I can't do it, because I was so afraid that, if I approach a girl, I'd be kicked out of the mall. I'd be deported, gone. So, I told John, and he basically gave me a call, and he sort of babied me, because that's what I needed, I guess, and got me back up to my feet and got me approaching again. So, and he did help me get through a lot of my mental issues. Like, I had a lot of self-confidence issues. I had a lot of self-doubt. I had this voice in my head telling me to give up. give up. You're not worthy of this. You don't deserve to date a white girl. Stuff like that. You can't do this. Just give up. You're wasting your time. I had all those issues, and John just came in and
What are you talking about? I have a 52-year-old student banging 21-year-old. And then 25 after that using Kaizen, and then another 21-year-old. So how exactly does that fucking matter? Makes no fucking sense at all. Makes no sense at all. Because you don't have any social calibrations. You should train with me, Cole. If you train with me, you can be a superstar. Not get stuck.
like brought me through it, got me to overcome all these issues and start believing in myself.
Are you kidding me? I got other students who are in the 40s banging 20-year-olds in Kaizen. I can show you all the testimonials, but it'll go on forever because I want to focus on London Daygame. Just look at my sales letter in the Kaizen area. Then you'll find out, right? You can see the old man getting a 21-year-old, 8.5 out of 10 for the first one. The second one is a Middle Eastern woman who's 7.6 out of 10 in looks, 25 years old, and 21-year-old for another one. Although she wasn't as pretty, her body was banging and smashing. Oh, behave.
So, he was like, okay, you've gained all these skills. We've drilled them down. You've drilled them down for hours. Now it's time for you to just say, hey, who cares if I know I can do it or not? I have the skills now. Just let the skills take over, just decide I'm going to get laid and let the skills take over. And that mindset shift absolutely helped me in just going out and getting it done. So if you are a Chinese or any minority out there that you're in a foreign land, you want to get with the chicks, you want to get laid, right? Do absolutely contact John because he knows what it's like to be a minority and he knows how to get minorities laid. Absolutely. I'm surprised at how fast he was able to do it with me. But everything he says is absolutely field tested. He 100% knows what he's talking about. And honestly, I'm still surprised at how fast he got me results. So if you want someone to get you results, if you want someone to get you laid, even online, no boot camp needed, right? No alcohol needed, no boot camp needed. So no flirting even needed,
That's the thing, though, when you saw my last video on the YouTube, when I talk about the 4 stages of flirting, which is more advanced level, one of them is the social calibrations, the body language. And what I said was that when I learned from a 5'4" natural who's a Pakistani, not the same taller Pakistani guy, but a shorter guy over here, for him, he taught me that the longer you can keep the correct body language with the social skill flow drill, the more she starts to think about you in a sexual way. As time goes on, she starts to think about your body. She thinks about your dick. Then she thinks about your ass. That's the funny thing. But it's subconscious. She just thinks about that if you can maintain the proper body language, like Mayweather junioring it with the Philly shell defense of Elite 30 or Kaizen. Isn't that amazing? And that's what he did. He didn't flirt and he still got laid because that overcomes it because it gives you more points with the social skill flow drill and also the body language of the social calibrations. That's 5 points right there. 5 points that you will not have gotten from any other dating coach because they don't understand. And everyone thinks I'm mad when I talk about this because when you think about it, all the naturals do exactly the same thing. And everybody who's autistic dismisses it.
John's your guy. John's absolutely your guy. Book a call with him. He will get you results. He will get you whatever results you want. From point A all the way to the end. If you want a girlfriend, if you want a wife, whatever. He will get you the results you want. So book a call with him and he'll get you set. Seriously, do it. It's one of the best.
You don't know how old I am, Cole. I probably am significantly older than you. I know I look younger. I don't want to look like I'm 24 or some 23 or whatever the fuck. But who gives a fuck? Be unapologetic about it and don't dress like shit. Dress like my students and you'll do fine. Because women respond to value. It's subconscious. When they see how my students dress, they get wet. It's a downhill battle, not an uphill battle. Just collect the lay.
Decisions I've made, because I've been in America for 8 years, and like I have 1 year left in America, which was why I decided to contact John. But had I known about his program, I would have contacted him like 8 years ago if I could have. So do it. Like, you don't have time to waste.
He wasted 8 years with London Daygame. 8 years. That's what it costed him. That's the opportunity cost of listening to tall whites, the Caucasians who are cocky, funny, when they have no idea how to box and they have to go to Eastern European countries instead.
You want to solve your reproductive and sexual issues? Contact John. That's all I can say.
Welcome to the 3 months to proficiency bundle offer that I have right now that I just created.
Wait.
Do you want to get laid faster than other people's boot camps? Are you struggling to stop depending on a boot camp as the only solution? Are you frustrated by the fact that it seems like RSD style stuff never works, no matter how hard you try? Are you worried it'll take forever until you can figure out on your own how to finally update your social skills?
Dude, I've been day gaming for 22 years. 22.
And social calibrations, so you can't use it in your everyday area of your life. I know it sounds crazy because you're probably even a little bit torn right now because despite the fact that you want to get laid in day game without alcohol and you want to bang a white girl, and you might be thinking that you need a boot camp as the only solution to get laid in day game, which is holding you back. With all of that going on in your head, no wonder if you get all my courses, my online training, you can get laid faster, over and over again without boot camp, having a long-term sustainable result while improving your social skills, social calibrations, without depending on autistic, Asperger's, gamey game lines, tactics that doesn't work without alcohol. For most people, except positive stereotypes, it seems like a pipe dream at this point.
Well, you got the point, right? You can watch this later on your own time, or you watch the testimonial. That's pretty cool. Let's wrap this up, shall we? So that's the power of my Elite 30 and fans. He does. This is because he's drilling it down, the skills in the mirror for Elite 30 and doing a 30-day challenge there. First, over and over. Now I'm talking like a white guy. Hey, John, how come like when you're talking now, you sound more like a white guy? What happened to you? Well, that's just the thing, though. I could switch my accent, and this is how I talk like in Daygame. I talk more like a white guy, so the white girls actually get more comfortable. They can't even tell like I'm Asian. I don't talk like an Asian guy, he talk like this. I could switch the act. No, I talk like a white guy. And that's part of the reason why it's a lot easier when you're whitewashed. This is why a lot of Asians, because they're up talking and the rapport seeking, is completely incongruent. So, all right. As I was saying, that back to the London accent, I cannot help it. It's so easy to flow into. And yeah, maybe I should start speaking like this in future YouTube lives. But when you look at Mayweather Jr., we're going to look at a video and he's going to start practicing the mitt work. So what's the mitt work? It's exactly like drilling down the skill. You see that? With Mayweather, he's drilling down this mitt work over and over. He's really improving his neural pathways. This is exactly like Elite 30, the defense. He remembers everything. That's like the 30-day challenge. As he does this over and over again, he's rejection proof. Unlike London Daygame, who's rigid, he can adapt to every single situation, and that's what you need. You don't need any of that London Daygame rigid bullshit. If you are too rigid, you're going to get fucking stuck. Well, that's the thing, though. I'm not going to be teaching boot camps this year. I suggest that maybe you consider taking 3 months of proficiency, because right now I'm not going to teach boot camps. I know a lot of you want to take boot camps from me. Everyone's begging every single day, John, when are you going to run a boot camp? When are you going to run a boot camp, John? It's like, no, I get to decide what I want to run and not run. It's my business. You don't want to learn how to use alcohol from other coaches. I know that. You don't want to do that. And you want the skill max and not alcohol max. I understand that. And you don't want to go direct anymore. You're getting stuck and getting knocked the spark out. But that's the thing, though. A lot of this stuff, just like my training, it was very great online, especially when you're learning how to do the skill maxing. In Kaizen, for example, the program, in 3 months of proficiency, you learn how to drill down your body language over and over until you become rejection proof. You always wonder, hey, John, how come your students' stats are so low that they let one shot and one kill, or they get laid in 1 to 6 approaches? It's very, very simple. They're able to adapt because they drill down these skills like Mayweather Jr. A boxer that does not drill down the skills and practice, they're not able to do all this stuff. So yeah, that's the thing though. This is exactly like the Kaizen program. You have to learn how to drill all this down. This is like Elite 30 from Hotkeys to Hero. This is how my students all get laid without actually doing much work. That's the secret. They're just doing all this stuff. But nobody does that in London. They think it's crazy. They think it's completely mad and 6s and 7s, like complete bonkers. But in reality, they're bonkers. Because the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. That's why they're stuck. That's why they're stuck. Because they have no skills whatsoever. They're like a boxer that does not train, does not drill it down. You need a good defense first, just like Mayweather Jr. That's where Elite 30 and that's where Kaizen comes in. Then that way you will not get all rejected, because with the Philly shell defense, you'll be able to slip by all her punches, all her rejections that you call a numbers game. You need to adapt to keep her on the line. And Elite 30 is all body language and social skills. It's drilled down in the mirror or even rehearsed. And once you're leveled up and you go outside and you apply it, that's how you get laid in 1 to 6 approaches. But hey, maybe the first 10 days of Elite 30 will be very hard. You get knocked the fuck out. But on day 11, you same day lay in like 3 approaches and you're like, fuck, what happened, John? I say, you leveled up. But Kaizen, 2 weeks, they get laid over and over. That's the thing. Social skill, flow drill is the jab. The hook punch is the flirt when she talks more. And you don't need to touch that much, like an uppercut, you know? And the mystery method ruined Daygame because the London Daygame system is based on mystery. Tall white guys that don't escalate, just does verbals and hunches all day without, you know, with this monotone, cocky, funny James Bond behavior, with DHV stories and routines like a clown without late testimonials. In fact, some of the London Daygame coaches don't even have a testimonial section. Seriously, some dating coaches out there with the mystery method or this kind of stuff do not actually have a testimonial page. And when they have testimonials, the students do not get laid. Look at Direct Game, for example, like Game Cheesy from Toronto. He only got 2 students laid. One is a tall white guy with an Asian woman using direct. And the second one was a Indian guy in Ukraine. Ridiculous. Nothing works for direct, for low SMV ethnics. So that's the thing. When you hunch all day, try and be cocky funny with DHV stories and routines like a clown. That works better for night game, not for day game. It doesn't work for ethnic minorities for day game, just night game. So ABCs of Insecurities, although a famous Asian dating company, they didn't get a single day game late testimonial since 2021. None in 2022 and none in 2023. Fame or followers equals sheeps, insecure sheeps. And some Asperger's, white dating coaches will touch like crazy and sexualize it to the max, putting them off the line. Yet some of my students still gets laid without touching or flirting and still same day lays white girls. This is the Mayweather defense. mixed with a job. And you can't get hit. So you build a traction with her. Plus, the jobs really lands and she submits. Obviously, when you pull her home and you don't use alcohol like a psycho and wrestle with drunk women bypassing consent, that's not what I teach. That's illegal. So if you are an Asian or Indian man who loves London Daygame but can't get laid, it's time to give up on London Daygame and start training with me. So stop relying on a numbers game that only works occasionally for tall white guys, and start getting results that you want with my Daygame coaching. So don't miss out on the opportunity to finally get laid with my Daygame coaching. Stop using London Daygame today and start training with me. My system is adaptive, so it works for everyone. By using this system, you can spike the attraction in the left and right brain, so you can make yourself effectively rejection proof, like Mayweather Jr. winning with ease. That's the power of Elite 30 in my Kaizen program in the 3 months to proficiency system. So that's what I'm saying. So join 3 months to proficiency now. Don't miss out on the opportunity to get laid without direct game. Get laid fast with a white girl and check out the 3 months of proficiency bundle now and get started on your journey to success. Stop wasting your time with the numbers game and Daygame. Take advantage of the 3 months to proficiency bundle and get laid without direct game, London Daygame model, and get laid fast with a white girl today. Just because I criticized or roasted London Daygame doesn't mean I want European ethnics to go for coaches in Europe for boot camps. I would say train with me for 3 months to proficiency or Kaizen or Elite Bundle 2 today. It's proven to work. So why not? Stop thinking boot camps are the only solutions. It is not. I'm the only one of the very few coaches that can get you laid online for Daygame. They can't. The courses don't work because they don't have the crutches. And most of my students who got laid for Daygame without being online, 3 months to proficiency seems to be the most popular course right now. So join 3 months to proficiency, and that's all I got to say. Anyways, thank you for joining me, and give it a thumbs up, and thank you for spending your Saturday here with me. I know your time is very valuable, and I hope you got a lot of value out of today's lesson. Toodaloo and cheerio. Cheerio.